We're just going to take a quick break and then we'll get started with open session. Okay, we are reconvened from open session or from closed session, but we do not have anything to report out. Do we have any deletions or corrections to the agenda?
We do not.
Okay, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we will get started with presentations and recognitions. We have our challenge coin recipients here from Amador High School with Mr. Cagle.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity today. I come as new as you can get principal here, so I'm excited to share some of my people that make us who we are. So got a few notes here. I'll try to make it short and sweet. Thank you for the opportunity today to pause and reflect and celebrate some of the incredible people who make our school an extraordinary place it is. At Amador, we know that the strength in the herd lies not only in one individual, but in the unity and purpose and the way that we move forward together. In the spirit of the herd, honor, effectiveness, respect, and dedication, we recognize these individuals whose daily actions embody what it truly means to be a part of this community. And today, we're proud to present or the ACUSD challenge coins to a group of individuals whose contributions have left a lasting imprint on our students, our staff, and our culture at Amador High School. So I'm gonna call them up as they come. So I'd like to call up Nancy and Gabby. They represent the H in our herd, honorable by silently preparing our school and classroom each and every day. As the dynamic duo of our night custodial crew, Nancy and Gabby work tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure our campus is clean, safe, and ready for learning. I often turn to sports analogies to capture the unique value people bring to a team, and just like a center in football or catcher in baseball, their team impact might go unnoticed at first glance, but the moment they're not there, we definitely feel it. Their work is foundational. Quiet, steady, and absolutely essential. The high school events schedule is nonstop, and the nights are demanding. And of course, they without question keep our campus maintained, and it's no small feat. These ladies rise to the challenge every night, and they are, in every sense of the word, magicians, transforming our spaces while most of us are fast asleep. We are incredibly grateful for their dedication, strength, and pride to the work that they take. And thank you, Nancy and Gabby, for being the behind-the-scenes heroes of our Thundering Herd. You got part of the team. Yeah, you can hang out right over here. Stay up here. All right. All right, so next gentleman is Jeremiah Cloud. He represents the E in our herd as effectiveness. By leading through example, he's a true team player in every sense. He embodies the spirit of a do-it-all teammate, the kind that every great team relies on to succeed. When someone on campus needs attention, or when something on campus needs attention, he doesn't hesitate. He steps up, takes ownership, and pours his heart and soul into it. His commitment is unwavering. He approaches every responsibility with purpose and pride. He models this same dedication to his students every single day. This year alone, he's gone above and beyond, filling in for math classes, overages, teaching during his prep, and consistently taking on whatever is needed without hesitation. Teacher, coach, advisor, department chair, mentor, forestry leader, and then any other roles I haven't come up with yet. He simply just gets the job done when his number is called. Thank you, Jeremiah, for your effectiveness and leadership in so many ways. You make our campus amazing. Our next challenge coin recipient is Stephanie Bramer. Stephanie represents the R in our herd for respect. Therefore, or through her unwavering dedication to both students and staff in her role, she works tirelessly to ensure that every student she serves feels seen, supported, and truly cared for. As a department head this year, Stephanie has carried an incredible load, stepping up to lead an understaffed special education department, often taking on the caseloads of others for extended periods of time without hesitation. Through it all, she remained a steady and compassionate anchor, offering support for her team, not just professionally, but personally, as they face some of the life's toughest moments. Stephanie demonstrates deep respect for Amador community and all that she does, and it's clear that Amador deeply respects her in return. Thank you, Stephanie. And last but not least, Claire Condon. Come on up. Claire represents the D in our dedicated portion. She's passionate for art education. She sparked a remarkable resurgence of creativity and engagement on our campus. As Amador's art teacher, she has built a program that's vibrant, meaningful, and full of pride. Sometimes the best way to measure greatness is by comparing to the legacy of those who came before. Amador people of my old age, we have a few in the house, may remember a legend once led our art department. Just as Giles Turner has left a lasting mark in our drama program, Rand Huggett created an unforgettable atmosphere in the art classroom. And today, Claire carries on that same spirit as students speak of her with the same admiration and reflection and impact that that he once had on his students. She inspires them to push creative boundaries, take bold risks, and shows their work, or to showcase their work with confidence. Under her guidance, students are not only entering and winning art contests, they're also choosing to leave a legacy on our campus by creating murals and to celebrate our school and the values of our herd. Claire, your dedications redefine what art means for Amador. Thank you for helping the herd see the world in more creative ways. All right, and lastly, I'm I want to thank all these individuals one more time and the remaining staff that I have that might be listening on our video here. We couldn't do it all alone. Our herd is definitely the power of more than just one. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Don't forget to get your picture taken with Miss Lori.
May I add just one tiny little comment of praise? Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Mr. Cloud, my son Aaron Gale had you as a 9th grade student. And just now in text messages, I vaguely remember him talking about you. And he took a moment to say, yes, he is the best math teacher I've ever had. So he even said he's better than the math teachers, at his current school where he went for the JROTC program. So for that kid to actually remember somebody, pretty high praise. Thank you for your service, sir.
Okay, thank you, guys. Next, we're going to move on to employee organizations. So we have Miss Jensen with ACTA.
Good evening, members of the school board. Can you hear me? Yeah. Interim Superintendent Critchfield, cabinet, colleagues, and community members. Being a teacher today requires far more than delivering a lesson plan. It means being emotionally present for students who come to school affected by trauma. It means responding to parents with care and professionalism, even when our own patience is running thin. It means collaborating with colleagues, supporting new teachers, participating in trainings, and attending meetings, often beyond our contracted hours. It means adjusting to curriculum changes, technology shifts, and ever-increasing demands, all while trying to stay afloat, personally and financially. And through all of this, we are expected to show up with energy, empathy, and enthusiasm for our students, for our school, and for our community. The truth is, being a teacher is deeply rewarding, but it is also deeply exhausting. And for many, unfortunately, it has become unsustainable. In our classrooms, we teach students to observe how animals survive, whether through migration, adaptation, or seeking alternative resources. Educators are making the same kinds of choices. Some are adapting by stretching their prep time to cover multiple subjects, taking on responsibilities outside of their job description, and adjusting to larger class sizes or reduced classroom support. Some are seeking alternative resources, working second jobs, sacrificing personal time, or forgoing necessary care. And some are migrating, leaving our district entirely for opportunities elsewhere. Let me be clear, the reason teachers are leaving is not because of site administration. Principals and school leaders are often doing everything they can to support staff with the limited resources they're given. Teachers are leaving because of systems, because of district-level decisions about compensation, benefits, workload expectations, classroom support, and an overall lack of structural investment. They are also leaving because of overwhelming and unaddressed student behavior challenges. While teachers work hard to build meaningful relationships with all students, especially those who are struggling, we are often placed in situations where the learning environment is compromised. When students are throwing furniture or making verbal threats, instruction is halted, and students who are ready and eager to learn suffer most. As a result, many teachers feel they are losing the ability to do what they are most passionate about, teach effectively and support every student in reaching their full potential. And this is happening while school site budgets have been cut in half, leaving even fewer resources for the classroom, for student support, and for the very programs that could help reduce these stressors in the first place. Board members, this evening, you are being asked to approve $70,000 to $80,000 for a new district office position, an Alliant representative to help oversee our insurance. While supports for the district office are being added, we remain unsure if there will be funding for the supports our school sites truly need next year. Yes, this person may help the district office manage their responsibilities more effectively, but what about our classrooms? We need RTI teachers, aides, and behavioral support staff. We need help directly serving students in classrooms, on playgrounds, in small groups, and in intervention settings. These are the positions that make day-to-day learning possible and meaningful. It's hard to justify growing central office supports while site-level staff and students are left wondering whether help is on the way. We are losing teachers to neighboring districts that offer better pay, stronger insurance at lower cost, and more sustainable workloads. These aren't isolated moves. They reflect a pattern that should concern all of us. When experienced educators leave, not because they want to, but because they feel that they have to, we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing to make them stay? One meaningful way to relieve the pressures our teachers face is to provide consistent support in the classroom and ensure that compensation and benefits are not just adequate but competitive. If we want to retain quality educators, we must build an environment where survival isn't the goal, thriving is. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is Mr. Baird here from CSEA 239? Perfect.
Good evening. How's it going? Nice to see you all. Cabinet, how's it going? I just have a couple updates, nothing major. Just want to update you guys. We're still going through job descriptions, updating them. Some of those are pretty old. We're trying to get them caught up with the times. Something else we got going on is we're going to be sending 2 of our members to the annual conference for CSEA in Reno in July, so they can, better help the union and members by learning what they can from other members in other districts and places around the CSEA coverage. We also want to announce that we're awarding 2 $500 scholarships for students from our funding. So we're pretty excited about that. I'm not going to name any names yet because they want to announce it themselves at the schools. And I did want to mention something that Jeannie was talking about with the the funding and like our wages and stuff. And I know a lot of this is tough because the financial situation the district is in right now, and that has a lot to do with the healthcare that we chose last time around, which is coming up again. So I just urge you guys to make sure that we're checking all the boxes and looking deep so that, that this time around we're able to, not have to wait a couple of years to provide better financial situations for our employees, and also choose better health care so we don't have to jump out midstream. So just keep that in mind as we look at budgets and as we look forward just at that health care specifically, and make sure we're making the right choice beforehand this time. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to public comments on non-agenda items. And we do have one. We have Sylvia Sorensen.
Hello, good evening. Bring my notes up. My printer wasn't working, so I'm using my phone.
I'm going to go ahead and read the thing real quick. A person wishing to be heard by the board shall first be recognized by the president and shall then proceed to comment as briefly as the subject permits. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on non-agenda items. Board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the board president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation, depending on the topic and number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add.
Thanks, Kayla. Greetings, board members, trustees, Mr. Critchfield, cabinet members. I'm here to extend a heartfelt thank you to Mrs. Patty Horn for meeting with some of us parents to discuss a valid concern that I presented at the last school board meeting in regards to our kids missing on quality education to thrive and succeed. We, so many concerned parents and grandparents with Moms for Liberty of Amador County, are grateful that Mrs. Horn was so kind to take the time to engage in a constructive meeting and to find common grounds to our concern about the trajectory our education is headed. We look forward to future collaborations with Mrs. Horn to improve and elevate our children's education. Moms for Liberty stands for transparency and accountability. Thank you very much and have a blessed evening.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our consent agenda, and we do have a public comment. Ms. Jeannie Jensen.
Thank you again for this opportunity to speak with you. Chris Garcia and Kelly Churchill have resigned. Kelly, I'd like to speak specifically about. She and I worked together. We co-taught kindergarten when it was a shared position at Jackson Elementary, because at the time it was recognized that having two professionals supporting children in their learning foundations was a good investment. Kelly was a mentor teacher. She guided upcoming educators as a master teacher. And she was voted Teacher of the Year 3 times by people in the sorry, Kelly, in the community who recognized her contribution and value. She is a keystone teacher. When teachers like Kelly, who make connections with her students, their families, and the community, leave our schools, we should take the time to ask why. Listen to the responses she gives and take measures to correct the system that would lead to this outcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we will go ahead and move on to our consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions or comments on consent?
I have a comment on the consent. Consent is going to also approve the HR recommendations, correct?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'll wait until after the vote. Go ahead.
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay, no worries. Does anybody down the line have anything to comment or add, Peter?
I do have one comment that I hope isn't too wildly controversial regarding item 3, the Williams Act quarterly report.
Okay.
Okay. Just so the public knows, to the best of my understanding, I'm happy to be corrected on this, that there is a procedure in place if someone does want to file a Williams Act complaint. Okay? And so if anyone feels strongly that our curriculum materials that are teaching, staffing, buildings, whatever, is not up to par, I would think we'd hope that that can be resolved through discussion. That was an amazing comment, just expressing gratitude to just having a discussion. That's awesome. But there is a procedure. If someone feels strongly, they have to file it. So this is good news that there are no William complaints filed. And I'm glad for that. And so just wanted to remind people that if you don't know how, that there is a procedure to do so.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions or comments before we get a motion for the consent? Okay, then we would just need a motion to approve.
Okay, I move that we approve consent agenda item 13.
Second.
Okay, and the roll call vote, Peter,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Shane,
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. James, did you have a comment?
I did. I noticed Ms. Churchill's resignation on here, and I was shocked and saddened to see the resignation, and I hope nothing but the best for her from here on out. She's truly amazing. And also, I'd like to say congratulations to Mr. Gilliam for the athletic director position at Argonaut High School. Looking forward to seeing the goodness.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item 14, communications. We do not have any. So that brings us to item 15, our action items. Item number 1 is verbal summary of the financial terms of the superintendent's employment agreement. So I'm going to go ahead and read the terms. It says, California Government Code Section 5493C3 requires that a verbal summary of the proposed compensation and fringe benefits be given to the public prior to final board action on certain employment agreements. The next agenda item addresses the board's open session discussion and possible approval of a superintendent employment agreement with Jared Critchfield. The superintendent employment agreement contains the following material terms. The employment agreement is effective July 1st, 2025 and ends on June 30th, 2029. The superintendent's annual salary will be $215,000 with an annual increase of 3%. Superintendent will receive an additional 15% of the annual salary provided by the Amador County Unified School District for his duties as the county superintendent. The superintendent shall receive a master's stipend of $1,408 annually. The superintendent will receive a contribution of $1,200 per month to a retirement account of the superintendent's choosing. The superintendent shall be provided a $500 per month vehicle expense allowance. The superintendent will be entitled to the same health and welfare benefits as other administrative certificated employees. This concludes the summary of the material terms of the proposed superintendent employment agreement, and a complete copy of the superintendent employment agreement is available in tonight's agenda or from the district office upon request. That brings us to item 2, where we will review and discuss and approval of the superintendent's employment agreement. The Board of Trustees has engaged in several deliberations with Mr. Jared Critchfield regarding the terms of his employment as superintendent. Following these discussions, the proposed superintendent's employment agreement is now being presented in open session for review, discussion, and potential approval. If approved, the agreement will take effect on July 1st, 2025. So we will go ahead and go down the line if anybody has any questions, comments, or conversation we want to have on this. Peter?
I am grateful that I think the discussions that we've had have been fruitful and clear and productive, that questions have been very transparently and openly answered. I feel completely satisfied that it has been a healthy discussion. Mm-hmm. And I'm also, as someone who, my children knew you when you were a principal, sir, glad you wish to stick around and continue investing in Amador County. So.
Okay, thank you.
Grateful for that.
Perfect. Ken?
No questions.
Okay. Shane?
It's just a comment. When the public knew that we were discussing what we're going to do with this position, I would say that feedback that I received was probably 99.9% positive for having Jared in this spot. And I'm just hoping that with this decision to have someone that grew up here, went to school here, and is a local, I'm hoping that point, whatever that was, 0.1%, can be brought into the group, and I think this is our best chance to make the changes that we want. If it's
If it ends up being consolidation, I think it's the best. If it ends up not being consolidation, I also think it's the best because Jared is from here. So looking forward to it.
Okay. James?
For me, third time's a charm. Yeah. Congratulations, welcome.
Yeah, I think that just in this past, however many months, almost a year, on the interim contract, I think that we have seen some positive changes. I think that this is a school district is a large undertaking. This is a huge ship to turn around and to kind of set on the right course. And so I'm really looking forward to working with Jared, the rest of the school board, obviously our staff members and students, to take our district to a place that we want to go. So congratulations, Jared, and I look forward to it. With that, we would just need a motion to approve the contract. Can Molly Jane vote on this? No. Okay. Okay. Molly Jane, you'll have to sit this one out. Okay. We would just need a motion.
I move to approve item 15.2, just what do you call it? Just the superintendent's employment agreement?
Second.
Okay. And then the vote, Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James? Aye. I'm also a yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. This is, it's really, challenging to just talk about yourself. I'm not big on that. And so I appreciate the trust that the board has placed in me. I also appreciate the length of the contract. If anyone's wondering, that is the maximum allowable. And one of my biggest goals in this process is consistency. As part of our deliberations, this is my 8th year in the district office. There are 5 cabinet level positions, which include the superintendent and the 4 assistant superintendents to my right. I have worked with 21 different cabinet members in my 8 years. And I firmly believe that some of the challenges we face have to do with that high rate of turnover. There have been many times when people have said that either this position or assistant superintendent positions are used as a stepping stone. This is the stone for me, not one to step on and move on. So I deeply appreciate this board and the trust that they have placed in me, and I just hope to serve this community well. So thank you.
Thanks, Jared. Okay, moving on. We're going to move on to item 15.3, the CCAP and ACUSD agreement. Mrs. Horn and Ms. Gravett. I think it's just Ms. Horn tonight.
How do I follow that? Thanks, Jared.
You're welcome.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
Before you have a agreement with it's a renewal of agreement we already have with Yosemite Community College District for our college and career CTE pathways. So it's just an update of a current renewal.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this MOU? And this is just for dual enrollment courses that we already offer for adult ed?
Nope, that's the other one.
That's the other one.
This
Okay,
one
got
is
it.
for CTE.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Any other questions or comments on it?
Do we have any numbers as far as how many students have benefited from this?
I can get that for you.
Just be interesting to see how much of an impact it is.
Absolutely, I'll be happy to provide that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. If no other questions or comments, we would just need a motion.
Move to approve item 15.3 CCAP-ACUSD agreement. Mrs. Horn and Mrs. Gravett.
Second.
Okay. And the roll call vote, Molly?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. All right. Moving on to item 4 is our annual course proposal, Adult Ed, with Mrs. Horn.
This is the one that is a annual requirement by the Department of Education for our adult courses. It so happens we're doing 2 years right here, so you can see that we had to catch up and have this year. So that's both years that are being proposed and have already been accepted from CDE.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
My only question is similar to the previous. Is there any data on how many of these courses are actually running and you know, how it's benefiting adults in our community or degree of use? I don't know how I'm trying to phrase that, but.
I can get that for you.
Okay, perfect. Then we would just need a motion if there's no further comment.
Okay, I move that we approve item 15-4, annual course approval for adult ed.
Second.
Okay, and the roll call vote, Molly?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. Okay. Next, we are going to move on to Alliant Insurance Services Incorporated, broker of record, dental, vision, and voluntary employee benefits with Mr. Norton.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. Tonight, I'm presenting an item regarding a recommendation for our employee benefits program. This is regarding the appointment of Alliant Insurance Services Incorporated as our exclusive broker and consultant for dental, vision, and voluntary benefits with a proposed effective date as of May 1st, 2025. The attached broker record letter formalizes this agreement. This broker record letter is a standard document in the insurance industry that officially designates Alliant Insurance Services to represent Amador County Unified School District and County Office of Education in all matters related to the specific employee benefit plans noted in the letter here. Specifically, we're looking at the dental plan, the vision plan, basic life, voluntary life, disability, employee assistance program or EAP, the flexible spending accounts or FSA, as well as voluntary benefits. So this change implies a few key things. It rescinds any previous broker appointments, and so in this case, i.e. Newfront, with regards to dental, vision, and voluntary deductions. This would ensure that Alliant is our sole representative in that case. It authorizes Alliant to negotiate with insurance carriers on our behalf, seeking the best possible plans, rates based upon our employees' situations and needs. It grants Alliant access to necessary information regarding our existing policies, contracts, and financial data to help them in this process. And it establishes that Alliant will receive the standard commission and service allowances associated with these insurance contracts. So I want to emphasize that the benefits this transition to Alliant brings the Amador County Unified School District and COE, apologize for this. While the attached Alliant presentation provides a comprehensive overview, I really want to highlight just a few things. Their expertise and advocacy. Alliant is the largest public entity broker and consultant in California, working with over 1,000 public entity clients, including Amador County, Calaveras County, and many school districts all over California. Their experience and scale can provide us with strong advocacy and negotiations and ensure we receive optimal plans and service. And I will note what got us down this path was actually a communication with Amador County. We were seeing what they were involved with, and they highly recommended this. There was actually a point where the county moved away from Alliant because they had a broker come in and tell them they can get all these savings and other things that sounded very similar. And then after a couple of years, they actually went back to Alliant. So that story I thought was pretty interesting. In addition, one thing that they can provide to us, and this might be a little optimistic, but they feel that they could present what Amador County Unified School District and County Office of Education have to where a company called the Self-Insured Schools of California, or otherwise known as SISC, which is the largest public school pool for the U.S., would quote Amador County Unified School District for medical. This would give us another option as we deliberate between the different medical options that are available to us. The advantage of that obviously is in and of itself, the more options, the better we have in terms of choices. Our USD and COE already work with CISC in a form or fashion. It's actually through our JPA, our Joint Powers Authority. We work with them with regards to our property and liability coverage currently. When we did reach out to them independently to try and get them involved, they declined to quote us, and the reason for that was, in their eyes, we were too risky at that time. Alliant does feel they could present us in a different light considering the relationships that they currently work with them to get them to quote us. Other things they provide would be enhanced communications. Alliant offers a robust employee communication engagement tools that support annual communications to our staff, targeted messaging, various media, and really just to ensure that our folks truly understand what benefits are offered. Whereas I'd like to say that my payroll staff and I are pretty good at answering folks' questions. Our level of expertise pales by comparison to what they could offer in terms of their communication efficiency. And then in addition, just administrative efficiency overall. Alliance services are designed to streamline benefit administration, effectively becoming an extension of our payroll department, our HR departments, and overall benefits team as a whole, including benefit management, problem resolution. So when our employees do have a problem, whether it's through one of their deductible negotiations with a carrier, things like that, what's not covered, they will go to bat for them and help in that case, and implementation support as we transition. Then they have compliance support. There are a lot of laws that continue to change, especially in the benefits and healthcare world. With a small staff carrying it here, they could provide us some level of expertise in terms of that. And then the one thing that comes up in every kind of decision is cost. In this case, there would be no net difference in what we're paying currently for Newfront. And I want to stress that really right now what we're looking at doing is effectively changing from May 1 until we make a really decision on what we want to pursue going forward, which will be for that 10/1 date. So what I'm really looking at with this transition is a change that makes it effective in May and carries it forward until at least September 30th, until we get a full chance to really delve deep into what they have to offer and can see if there's actually truly a benefit here before we continue with the services. We're already locked into these agreements that we have for dental and vision and things like that. They're basically just taking over in terms of the services that Newfront would be providing for dental and vision. The reason they're able to do so, and the reason it would be such a clean transition between what we're currently doing and what they could offer, is that currently Newfront basically purchased the plan through Alliant so that we work with ACUSD. So what that means is Alliant is like the representative of ACUSD. It's the Alameda County Insurance Group. That's who we work with for dental and vision. And they sell to other brokers, essentially, the different plans and offerings. So we would be, in essence, cutting out the middleman, Newfront in this case, by going with Alliant and basically just working directly with them. At this time, what they would do for their services is just take the commission that Newfront was getting, and it would go to them essentially for their services they'd be providing us, their level of expertise, all these other different pieces, and ability to really help us as we transition. Whereas the scope of this agreement is dental and vision. Some of the things they provided or have noted to us is that they'd also provide a level of expertise when it comes to our medical in terms of if you go with this, this is what you're looking at. And they did outline in the presentation some of the benefits of going with a pooled medical plan, which is what we have said from the get-go we need to transition back to. When we first met with them, they came with this presentation that you see attached and basically telling us all the things we did wrong in the last transition. It was pretty, impressive that they didn't even know who we were really, but they did their homework. They looked at our website, went through our plan benefits, and noted that with regards to that, there are a lot of ways we could look to do better going forward. If we decide to continue with them, currently the way they get it, as I noted, was through commission. This commission is paid through the premiums that are paid by the employees. So essentially the cost of the plans that folks have, a portion of that goes towards these particular costs. So it could be coming from the health and welfare cap. It just honestly depends on what that particular piece is. If there is a model in which we could continue to do that going forward, but it also depends on which medical vendor we go with, if we have better options for dental and vision outside of what we currently have, which we are continuing to review. So there is a lot of I don't knows in terms of that going forward. But what they had noted is their commission would drop to from currently for dental and vision for Newfront, we pay $70,000 to $80,000 a year. Actually, it's closer to $80,000 this year is what I'm estimating. They would lock it in at $70,000 going forward. So just so we have that picture there. A couple other key things to note. All already cut that part out. Is really there would be no interruptions to our employees. I think this is vital. Because it is that whole chain of Newfront to Alliant to ACSIG, the group numbers, plan numbers, everything would stay the same for our employees. There really would be no changes to the employee. They wouldn't notice really any difference. It would just be, hopefully from a customer service standpoint, we see some improvements on that side of things, in addition to the communications and expertise they can provide. If we decide at any point we don't like them, all we have to do is give a 30-day notice, and we could terminate their agreement. But I just feel the benefits they can provide in terms of their marketing materials would be really invaluable for our recommendations going forward. And so then when it comes time to make our final decisions with medical, dental, vision, all of our benefits and all, this will be a part of that decision is, do we want to continue with Alliant at that point in time? So in conclusion, I believe that partnering with Alliant Insurance Services will significantly benefit our district and county office of education by providing enhanced services, expertise, support for our employees, dental and vision, and voluntary benefits. And at this time, I recommend that the board approve the broker record letter. I'm available for any questions you may have with regards to this.
Okay. So something I noticed is that we actually got to see what they offered as opposed to our last time we went through this. So that's, I mean, a positive start already. I did have a question. So when we go through this, you did say we're kind of just cutting out the middleman. So these changes per se are not going to be affecting the employees when we make this change.
They would not.
Right, not on May 1st if we were to do this. Is that
correct? That's a good point. There were a couple of things I didn't comment on. I didn't see in my notes here, but I got in my other notes, so one sec. To note the negatives, because I didn't bring that up, but I do want to throw this out so it's full scope here. There is no guarantee that CISC will quota. So if we do go with them, there is no guarantee they will get that. So that's case in point. There is potential for other services to be impacted, whereas it's not dental and vision. We are still in a relationship with Newfront for our medical. And so what we could see is, in some ways, a retaliation. And so we see a lack of services there. Obviously, the services there that have been there already are its own thing. So I just want to be transparent in that we still will have a relationship with them. I could imagine that relationship could be affected by this move. The third thing would be with any transition, whereas in working with Alliant, I don't foresee anything based on everything we're talking about. I don't expect any hiccups. Could there be some? With any transition, that is always a possibility. So I'll leave that open in that sense.
Okay, so really quickly, so what you're saying is that you think that Newfront...
I do not feel Newfront will do anything. I'm just pointing that out.
I was like, man, Newfront's just winning a lot of points.
No, I do not think they will do anything. They've never led me any reason to suggest that.
Okay.
But I would just, with any relationship,
Sure.
whenever you back away from something, I could foresee something.
Okay, so this broker deal that we're talking about here is only until September, correct?
So this is until effectively we give them a 30-day notice. But I would fully anticipate we will need to reevaluate how that goes between now and 9/30 as we transition to other things. For instance, just to throw it out there in terms of medical, one of the other vendors we're looking at is CVT, a place where we've been before. They do provide medical, dental, and vision.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we go with them, is it necessary that we want to stick with Alliant? There are avenues to where, yes, we may want to, and maybe we still go with dental and vision through Alliant. We have the ability to do so. We get the expertise with it, and the rates may be very comparable, even with that expense for them built in. So there are a lot of decisions between now and I would say that time.
Okay.
But what this provides us is really a transition period to see how well they operate. Can they provide what they suggest? And then we can hopefully leverage their expertise and skills to really help communicate it out to our employees. We've built a website right now. We've got a survey going out trying to get more insights.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hopeful that even that's without them. So with them, I hope to even have more.
Okay, so essentially we have Newfront already, and this is what they're doing, and we would be paying them to do this regardless through September 30th when our contract time is over. We are just trying to cut them out as the middleman, use Alliant since that's who they bought this from in the first place. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my ducks in a row here.
100%.
And we're cutting out the middleman, so we're not paying any more money. We're kind of just taking them for a test drive until our contract is up and we can decide wholeheartedly where we want to go.
Correct, essentially. I mean, again, effectively, this agreement is valid until we decide it's not.
Okay.
And so we got to basically have to give them a 30-day notice. So it, in theory, would keep going past that.
Sure.
But the way I'm viewing it, and I think the way we all should be viewing it, is really it's until 9:30 until we decide that that's what it is. And I would imagine we'll have a decision even well before that.
Well, we have to make a health insurance decision well before 30 days in
Sure,
advance
yes.
of September 30th. So that would be our point in time where we would also make a concurrent decision on continuing with Alliant.
Okay.
And if we decided to not continue, we would be able to give them more than 30 days
Sure.
in advance notice
Okay.
and terminate that September 30th for the full transition October 1.
Okay, and like you said, I did see your emails come out about what the surveys and all the things, and I'm assuming this is going through all the employees and whatnot, just to
That's
get
who it went to,
feedback
yes.
from. Okay. All right, that's it for me. Let's go down the line.
Well, you've already asked a lot of questions.
Yes.
That's helpful. I do think it's good that you have made opportunities through Zoom calls for people to join in. I unfortunately was not able to do that, so forgive me if these are obvious questions. You say you're cutting out the middleman, but isn't Alliance essentially just a different?
So they're the broker for ACUSD. It's interesting how their setup works. When we actually joined with Newfront, Alliant was actually written into some of the agreements that we had. But it's because to work with ACUSD, you're going to work with Alliant. It's just they work in tandem.
Interesting. So on, let's see here, I think it's numbered, kind of, maybe. On page 12 or 13, something like that, it says benefits of pool purchasing. They have logos for CISC and CVT and ACUSD, if that's how you say that, et cetera. And on the very next page, I believe it's page 13, that one does have a slide number page there. And I think you kind of mentioned this. And this is their marketing to us, right? Based on the following, we believe that both direct-to-market pooled purchasing options, CVT6, may decline to quote or provide uncompetitive quotes. And then, of course, they give their reasons why. Is Alliant even necessary if we end up going with CVT?
So that's a great question. And that's where I really like this lead time to figure that out. What I mean by that is, one, they could still quote us on the dental and vision. We could go with CVT and decide not to go with CVT's dental and vision options. They're probably going to be very comparable. And so with that particular case in mind, the rates would be the same, but essentially that commission that you would either be going to CVT or to Alliant. So it's a matter of who do we feel would do a better service in that side of things. Does that make sense?
Kind of. I guess I'm just not clear why we need to switch now to these people. And is there any legal repercussion with ditching the other company?
From my understanding, no.
Okay.
So the reason to do it now would just be, one, to test out the service. We are in these contracts until the 9/30 date regardless. So we are in this deal with somebody, whether it's Newfront or Alliant, we are in with them.
Are we cutting out Newfront because we feel like they have not provided a quality service to an extent? Because that's kind of the way I feel.
I will answer with this. It seems like we will be moving away from Newfront regardless
One
of
way or
what
another.
choice we go with. So to that end, I feel like this is a good stepping stone to kind of see what else is out there in that sense. It's a good way to see what other alternatives could provide since we're already in this contract anyway.
We're stuck paying this anyway, so you want to kind of test the waters with what is better.
Yeah.
Okay. Peter, anything else to add? Okay, Ken?
Okay, so Alliant needs a 30-day out notice, right, to change? But we're going to give Newfront 2 weeks' notice that we're moving to Alliant,
Basically.
and they're okay with that? There's no penalties or?
From my understanding, there is none. If there is, we will adjust that at that time. Well, I'm sure we would just delay the effective date, but that was what we'd be looking at if we had to.
And then why would we not move to Alliant with the medical also?
Because that one, we are locked in with the Pareto captive. It's that stop loss coverage that we would not have the run out. If we were to leave, that one exposes us significantly.
I'm sorry to interrupt your questioning, but can you explain that in English?
Fair enough. We've talked a lot about stop loss in this whole thing, and we had discussed in prior meetings why we can't really switch early. And that was in large part because the district is going to be exposed with or without coverage. What I mean by that is, if we were to leave early from the medical side of things with Newfront, and through Newfront we have the Pareto captive, if we were to leave early from that particular arrangement, we would be on the hook for any claims that come out without any stop loss protection. Our stop loss protection is if our employee gets sick, they go to the doctors, and there's a large claim over excess amount, we are covered past anything. Currently, it's $100,000. So if the claim is in excess of $100,000, we're covered for any overage. We're also covered in aggregate. So over the course of a plan year, we have, I think it's about $5.7 million. Anything beyond that $5.7 million, we basically are covered up to another $1 million beyond that with the stop loss. If we were to exit early, those coverages in excess go away. So essentially, if that claim was now $1 million, which we did have one last year, we're on the hook for the whole $1 million. If the excess claims go 6, 7, 8, 9 million, we're on the hook for all those extra excess. So with the dental and vision, we don't have those same kind of restrictions. That's why we can do it here, where we couldn't do it with the medical.
So if you say there's a small chance that Newfront's going to be upset that we're dropping them as our broker why would we do it? If it's the same cost, I don't understand the benefit of the move.
So if we were to go with CalPERS, let's just throw that out there, because that is an option on the table right now for medical. We would need somebody for dental and vision. There's no guarantee that this group would want to continue to work with us. The odds are they probably still will. But this would give us an opportunity to connect with them now, see how their services are, and if we want to continue to engage with them for dental and vision services. So this gives us an avenue to look in that direction. So we know a change is coming. We know that if we go with certain groups that we'll have to explore other dental and vision options. This is where I think that makes sense to explore that. I threw out the Newfront thing because it is a potential risk. It's anything. I think it's a minute one, but it still is a risk. And so that's why that is there. But again, I don't think they'll do anything.
All right, thank you.
Shane?
A couple questions. In the past, well, right now, what's the cost to our employees for dental and vision? Just a general.
I want to say on the dental side, we're looking at 100 and something. Vision's less than that, but
That's yearly, monthly, what?
that's the monthly cost. Now, please note that with regards to that too, depending upon their medical plan, there is the health care cap or the health and welfare cap that could either go toward medical or dental and vision or some combination thereof. So it just kind of depends on where that individual employee is, but the premium rate per month is going to be $100 and something. I'll tell you the exact number here in a second. Just need to pull it up.
That seems expensive. Several years ago, wasn't the monthly cost quite a bit lower?
So since I've been here, they've been relatively about the same. Yes, there have been some increases, but they've been about this. So, and I've only been here 3 years, but since my time, it hasn't moved that much.
Yeah, dental and vision rates have not gone up extremely in our time. Medical has.
Well, the reason I ask is I had double dental because I have my manager is in the district, and so anytime I went to the dental, I had double dental coverage. And then I noticed that since our insurances have changed, I think the cost increase, just made me think, they significantly increased enough that it wasn't panning out to be worth having a double coverage.
So at least I know on the dental side here, it really didn't change much. It's 116 right now. This is for an 11-month employee, so it's basically 11 months of the year you're paying 116. For the vision plan, I'm just going to note too at the certificated 11-month, it does change based on your bargaining unit, but the vision plan is $19. So it's 116 and then $19 on the other.
And I'm going off of my employment and my employers. I work for SMUD, and I believe our vision is no cost. And I know our dental is quite low, and I know we have quite a few employees there, so that might be part of it. But
So that could also be employment caps that are agreed upon. So the way it works with our bargaining units is with certain bargaining units, there's a cap of about 10,000. With other bargaining units, it's 12. They select a medical plan, and there's a monthly cost to that. Then there's the dental and vision plan. They take the whole cost to that. Their cap gets divided up monthly and applied to that, and then the employee pays the excess. So other, programs could say, well, part of the cap is automatically paying for dental and vision. That's not the way we've ever functioned here. It's always just been the dental and vision are added to the medical cost, and you have one health and welfare cap that gets applied to those costs.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that maybe down the road we're able to make some type of improvement so that we can bring that to our employees. Is there any kind of like a clearinghouse for researching health benefits for employers?
Nothing that I'm aware of. I'm sure there might be. I couldn't tell you.
Because I know you Google health insurance and you get page after page, and it'd just be nice if there was some. I would think a week ago I thought maybe the Department of Education might have something like that, but now I don't even know if they have their lights on. But I just would think that it would be good to have something like that we can use, because a lot of the comments I've received about the health insurance was that they weren't ready, or they weren't informed on the insurance, and then when they did make that, when they said, okay, here's the deadline, we need to have an answer, they made the answer, and then it seemed like nothing got better, it got worse. And I'm just hoping that we can avoid that. Whatever this next choice is, I'm hoping that we can make improvements and not put it out on our employees and have them make decisions on whether or not they're going to get some type of treatment or whatever.
Yeah, and so this is why we've engaged with so many different vendors, especially from the medical standpoint. We started with 7 different vendors that we started with, sometimes through word of mouth, some through past relationships, and then some just looking at, hey, who are some of the ones that other districts are utilizing. So that's how we kind of started where we did, and we've kind of narrowed it down to some of the more bigger players. And the reason for that was there has been so much variability in medical insurance these days that we're trying to find the larger players so that we could really mitigate the risk in terms of rates changing year over year as much as we can. So that's the hope here. And that's where I also think the expertise of getting a Alliant on board can help us in that particular aspect. There's a lot of things that I could look at this all day, do a ton of research, and I'll never know as much as these groups that live and breathe it every day. So that's where I think their expertise in that sense could really help us kind of go through all the different pieces.
Thank you.
Okay, James?
I, along with Kayla, appreciate that there's actually conversation, dialogue, pictures, charts, graphs regarding this, whereas before it was quick. I felt that as a board member, I needed to learn how to quickly become an insurance specialist, and that still hasn't happened. And I don't know what you meant by clearinghouse, but I'm assuming, is there somebody that we can talk to is what that meant? Okay, so a database or research or something?
That would be generally, yeah, what I would think of.
I've spoken with insurance people, and to be honest, I still I don't feel as a board member and that a presentation, and I mean no disrespect to you at all and what you do and what you've done, but I personally feel that this isn't something that I would be comfortable and even the 4 or 5 days that I've had to go over it, is there somebody that can walk us through it that isn't from a firm that's trying to take our money? You know what I'm saying? Like, of course they're going to be like, oh, come with us, we're the best. Well, because you want our pocket.
And I'm sure that would cost the district money to do that.
Of course
I'm
it
sure we
will.
could bring somebody in as
But I
a
also
consultant.
feel, but I mean, I'm sure it'll cost a lot less than $1.5 million.
That's a fair assessment.
I also, though, want to commend Robert for becoming our in-house health insurance expert. I mean, he has done an immense amount of work, had numerous staff meetings to keep our employees informed. And you're right, James, it's hard as a board member to fully grasp all of this. And this is where, we are very reliant on Robert here, and I'm confident in what he's done in bringing forward this recommendation, because this is a tough area to navigate. And it is also, there's a challenge in finding agencies that work with public agencies as well, right? We're not, just can't go to your local insurance broker and set all this up. It just doesn't work that simply as a public agency. And so, yeah, there's always an inherent risk here, but I feel like Robert's really done an immense amount of work on this to be well informed on making this recommendation tonight.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And to be completely honest, prior military, we're spoiled. I can go wherever I want. And making this decision, I want to make sure it's the right decision for everybody in the district. And I'm sure some people are going to be like, oh, I got the short end of the stick. Some people are going to say, oh, no, it's perfect for me. And I hate saying, well, you can't always please everybody. But because of how we made a very bad mistake prior to this right now, I don't want to make another mistake.
I agree.
So I'm thinking the county that we live in, who takes these insurers, if that's even the right term?
So in this case,
I know you mentioned CalPERS. Do they take anybody here, or does anybody here take that?
I'm sure there are. I mean, they do. Because essentially, it's working with
If I see it here, it's Delta Dental and VSP is who
So
they
this is for our dental and
we did
vision.
this one,
It's
yeah.
currently what we're using. So it's Delta Dental and VSP.
which there are providers here that take it.
But I think your question is more on the medical side with regard.
I mean, to be honest, everything. But then, okay, that's cool, because that tells me also, yes, that they take it. But again, it's just really, I don't want to make a mistake.
Sure. And so we have links on our website too right now that are available for our staff, so they can see exactly if their doctor does take one of the plans that are offered through CalPERS specifically. Through CVT, we have to wait to see what they get, but essentially, if someone takes our plans now, the odds are they're going to take the plans that they had. Our plans have mirrored what CVT had before. So folks shouldn't have experienced too much in the way of transition in that time. But I would imagine that those shouldn't have changed too much.
Have you looked at the price of kind of like I don't even know what the word would be, of somebody that helps you through this process? What would that person be called?
Generally, it's
Other
an
than a
insurance broker.
An insurance broker.
What we're
Great.
doing right now.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That doesn't help.
So one follow-up report and clarification what he's saying. Is CalPERS like good old Kaiser or Anthem that I'm with? Is CalPERS like one of those, or CalPERS is more like Alliant and just a broker?
So they're neither, if that helps. So they're an agency that kind of, they don't get as involved in your individual needs like an Alliant would. So what they're going to do is, here's our plans of offering. We work with Blue Shield, Kaiser, and things, and carriers like that. But we're not going to get in depth and do as much in terms of marketing. They'll help with open enrollment and things like that, but they're going to provide their standard market materials. They're not necessarily going to cater everything to us. They're just going to say, this is what we have to offer, and that's it. If you guys like it, that's
similar
great.
to CVT, kind of.
In a way. The difference between that and CVT is they are a little bit more amenable to the needs of their units. What I mean by that is we create custom plans with CVT, and we also have a choice in terms of how many plans we have available to our employees. Whereas CalPERS, it's all based on where you live. So we have a few folks who live in El Dorado County, Calaveras County, San Joaquin, Sacramento. Anybody that lives in any of these other regions are actually going to have more plans potentially than someone who lives here in Jackson. So it just kind of depends on where you live for what kind of plans you get when you look at CalPERS. And it's purely because of, for CalPERS, it's based on where you live and that's it. Whereas CVT, we have a little bit more flexibility in terms of the plan offerings that are available to basically all the district staff. So that's looking more at the medical side of things, but yeah. This is where I'm hopeful that if we can get CISC on board, we can even have more options and look at a third option. That's what I'd love to do. And present that and see what their rates are by comparison.
Okay, so just to kind of reel this back into what this item is about, is that we are trying to give Alliant a chance to be the broker, see how they do, as opposed to Newfront for simply dental, vision, and voluntary employee benefits. And then in October, September 30th, we will no longer be with Newfront for medical. We are locked in with medical with Newfront until September 30th. So regardless, we have to go with them.
What was that?
So the one thing I do want to add to that too is Newfront has noted they want to propose to us a non-self-insured model. We will listen to the proposal, but obviously
I have hesitations about Newfront. However, with Alliance, I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that we need to decide if we would like to give them an opportunity with pretty much net no more costs we are already paying to give them a shot from now until we would need to make a decision before our contract ends for our medical.
What do you mean we're already paying?
We are currently paying Newfront
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
compensation for their services for brokering our plans or whatever. So we are just cutting them out and going to pay Alliant directly instead of Newfront.
And in the very first line of the fiscal implications, it says there will be no additional cost to switching to Alliant Insurance Services. That means for the district and
correct
staff
and
as
employees.
well, right?
Correct.
Employees.
Okay.
On the transition, say that we say, yeah, okay, let's try Alliant. And you mentioned that there shouldn't be any hiccups to the transition. What if there are hiccups?
Yeah, and we'll have to address that at that time.
Okay, I mean, the people at home, if anyone's listening, they're probably saying, well, I want to know right now.
Sure.
So is there a way to possibly put out something, a press release or something, or something to inform the public on we don't anticipate this, but if there is, this is what you do?
We can absolutely do that. I know we have at least broadcasted to folks already that we were looking to make this change and that there should not be anything, but we can provide an avenue. So, hey, if you do have an issue, just let us know as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any further comments before we would look for a motion? Okay, then we would just need a motion for this item 15.5.
I make the motion that we approve item 15.5, Alliant Insurance Services, Inc., broker of record for dental, vision, and voluntary benefits.
I'll second.
Okay, and then the vote. Okay, Molly?
Yes.
Yes. Peter?
No.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
I trust that you're doing your damnedest to lead us down the path of greatness with this topic. I'm very skeptical only because of what we stepped in prior to. I know something needs to be done. I hope we're doing our due diligence to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And I know you're a thorough dude. You're very detail oriented from what I've seen for as long as you've been here. This is people's livelihoods and their families' medical, and I'm going to vote yes because I do trust that you're trying to make it right. You're trying to right it. So, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I too. I mean, I think that not that a PowerPoint is like the end all be all, but I feel like this is far more information just about vision and dental and other benefits than we ever received ever about switching the entire package in last year, whenever this happened, 2 years ago. I can't keep my ears straight these days. So I'm kind of on the same wavelength as James here, is that I'm hoping that we can kind of try this on for size and hope that this works out. But I think that the amount of information you've given us, it seems like you've done an extensive amount of research into this. So I'm also a yes.
Thank you, Board.
Okay, that will bring us to item 15.6, sunshine proposals for 2025, 2026 with Dr. Palazuelos.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. The item before you are the sunshine proposals. There are two proposals attached to this. One is from the Amador County Teachers Association to the Amador County Unified School District, and the second is from Amador County Unified to the Amador County Teachers Association. These are the items that we wish to negotiate for the 2025 to 2026 school year as part of the successor agreement, and we recommend approval.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments about this item? No? If not, then we would just need a motion to approve those.
We have to do it A and B, or A and then another vote for B?
The way that it's structured, it's one item. So one motion encompasses both of them.
I'll move to approve item 15.6, sunshine proposals for 2025, 2026.
Second.
Okay, and then the vote, Molly?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
Aye.
I'm also a yes. Okay, and then that brings us to item 15.7, job description, administrative and communications officer, Dr. Palazuelos.
All right. Good evening again, trustees. So the item before you is a job description for administrative and communications officer. The superintendent's office has reduced 2 existing positions to create this one role, achieving a cost savings and streamlining operations. This restructuring reflects a commitment to fiscal responsibility, while also maintaining the essential functions within the superintendent's office. The job description is contained there, and it would be, with respect to fiscal implications, at a confidential salary level 41. And we recommend approval for this job description.
Okay, thank you. We'll go down the line. Does anybody have questions or comments on this job description? Peter?
What is, forgive me, trying to wrap my head around this, 260 days a year is a lot of work. That's a lot of working days. That's a very, very full-time employee. So I've heard the number, or I haven't managed to see the salary schedule. Assuming my math is semi-valid, if the person is making $80,000 and we divide it by that 260, it's about $300 a day, give or take, or am I way off?
No, you're pretty consistent with that.
Okay. Thank you.
And just to remember with 260, there are holidays and vacation days that come out of that 260. So they won't actually work a full 260 days. And that's, our 12-month classified employees are pretty much all on 260, and then there's vacation days and holidays that are subtracted from that 260.
Ken? No? Shane?
Am I reading this right? Why is it confidential on the salary?
This particular position is confidential because they work directly in the superintendent's office. And as part of their work, they would be, there's information and exchange of information around negotiations and other confidential topics that they would be privy to, including the, all the work in assembling your board agendas, which do contain a number of confidential topics as part of your closed session and others.
And it does not belong to a bargaining unit, the position. That's essentially what confidential means, is it does not belong to a bargaining unit.
I'm troubled with this at this time when, we're losing good teachers. At the same time we're doing this position. It bothers me.
So as a reminder, the board approved in February laying off both employees in my office. So currently both have been laid off. If this is not approved, then there would not be any assistance in the superintendent's office. And when presented in February, it was presented as both positions would be laid off, and then a combination of the two positions would be brought back as one. So the net effect is a reduction of one staff member in the superintendent's office.
No more questions.
Ken, go ahead.
Just in the future, if we could, if we're going to have the fiscal implications, confidential salary level 41, can you just include the confidential payroll schedule so that we can, I looked it up, but if you can just make it readily available.
We could do one or two things. We could include the entire schedule or just that range. So I'll work with the superintendent on that request, sir. Thank you.
Okay. And how do we determine that was a level 41 position?
So one of the two positions in the superintendent's office that was laid off was already at a level 41. And so we elected to keep, of keeping one position within the office, we recommended keeping it at the same level as the communications officer that already exists in the superintendent's office that was laid off in February.
Okay.
Was that the highest of the two?
Yes.
What? How does that get there? Time, seniority? No, wait. Yeah, so let's say somebody in that office has worked there a year. They are, I don't memorize the scales. I'm not going to pretend like I know all of the steps, the columns, the circles, the left turns, the right. I don't. But let's just say Sally has worked there for 2 years and Travis has worked there for 28 years. Travis has a higher pay rate, correct?
I can take that. Yes, based on the years of experience and the way that our salary schedules work, they would be further along in their steps than the person who's there for a first year.
And we chose to take the higher pay rate.
So range is based on the job description. Steps are based on years of service. So there's always two parts to how they get paid. The job range is based on a specific job description, and then the steps along that range are based on the number of years of service.
In the background information paragraph, it says the district is seeking to optimize resource allocation, improve operational efficiency, contributing to the overall reduction in budget expenditures. Social media is amazing. Is there a way that, other than just saying, this is what we're doing, we can't, what is this saving us? Or is it saving us anything at all? Benefits, everything.
So we were paying for two positions, two different positions, health and welfare benefits, And so now we're health and welfare benefits, just one cost, and then the savings between having the two positions and even with this range. So there is a savings.
When you say that, I mean, my brain says, 50 cents is a savings, but of course it's nothing like that.
I think Robert's working on the amount right
I got a friend.
Okay.
I got a friend on the left here who's taking care of that right now.
Can I make a comment on this? In February, whenever it was that we did this, there were a few board members here present who were deeply worried that we should not let go of both superintendent's positions because we felt we'd be leaving him shorthanded. And he was confident at the time that he had to lead by example and make that cost saving, reducing the person. Okay. This role, having served as someone in the community outreach department from Antigua Unified, as kind of the video website writing, press release, the whole bit, right, guy, is a highly technical role that does require strong communication skills. And that's just that part of the job. The other part, doing all of the confidential, administrative, internal communication, it's a lot. In personal opinion, I think it's absolutely worth the salary, no question. I think it is a crucial position. And personally, even though I think I would have already some of the skills, I would not want that job. That's a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of effort and deserves to be adequately compensated so that we can keep good people. Certainly, in my lens, as 5 years on the former community outreach team from Antigua Unified, it wasn't uncommon because just like a lot of our positions in the district, we are competing with the private sector. And when you've got someone that's got that kind of skill set, if we don't have a competitive salary, they're not going to stick around.
Trustee Marzano, to answer your question, the savings is $104,448.13.
Annually,
Yes,
benefits and everything.
that's everything.
I'd like to add comments that since February that I have received that regarding our teachers, that a lot of teachers have had to pull double duties and have had to make ends meet as far as making things best for their classroom. So I do agree that, yeah, we do need something like this, but I'm also thinking that at the same time we're losing teachers and we're losing really good teachers that I'm worried on the visuals that we're given to the community. And I want to make sure that our teachers are cared for just like they are at the district. And that's one of the prominent comments is that there is a disconnect between the district office and the teachers and the schools. And I don't know how we fix that, but we need to patch that raft however we can do it.
Now, I'm happy to begin that process. I just think sometimes when board actions are separated by a couple of months, it can easily be construed as this is an addition. But again, this is a continuation of a board action from February of eliminating both of the positions in the superintendent's office. And now this is a new position. So again, it's essentially we've eliminated two and we're bringing back one. And like I said back in February, as the superintendent setting the example of if we're going to make reductions, I hit it right outside my door with reductions. So people can construe this as an addition, but in the big picture, this is absolutely a subtraction. I have two people, and next year, if approved, I'll only have one. That's a massive decrease in output, and I ask for a lot. I'm busy. I have a lot going on, and I am constantly giving direction to the people in my office on the things I need so that I can do my job well. And this is a complete reduction within my office. And we've heard in the past, why aren't they making reductions at the district office? And that's exactly what we did in February was reduce, but it was never the intent to get rid of both positions and not bring back one, that would be very challenging, I would say, for me.
Yeah, just to be clear, if this doesn't get approved come the end of the school year, Jared's now his own secretary,
So I appreciate your
administrative
explanation.
assistant.
I appreciate the explanation, and especially your numbers. And I remember that board meeting, and it was a split board in regards to that. I mean, I mean, I'll just be honest. When Mr. Crow was speaking, and he's concerned about the optics with the public, and I too agree with that. But the first thing that popped into my head is like, okay, if I'm gonna pick a lane, I need to stay in it. I can't bounce all over the place with what happens. Like I don't know. I guess I'm just talking to think right now. But again, when you had with your explanation of you're gonna be your own secretary. I mean, I get it. That sucks, and that will suck. And I could.
Not feasible.
It's not feasible. But also, the board was split, and then so my question is, let's. What does a board do if something like that were to happen?
I guess to be blunt, I'm confused because the board was split. My recollection is 2 board members wanted to keep both positions.
Correct.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
So again, now we're talking about just one.
Right.
And forgive me for, again, my bad math. I'm an English teacher, so if I'm getting this wrong, I apologize. But I glanced at one of our open positions on EdJoin for just a standard first-year elementary school teacher that makes $56,000. If that teacher works 186 days, they're making $300 a day. The reason this job is an $80,000 job is they are working way more days, way more time, long nights, you name it. Living at board meetings, for example. This person does a lot, and it's completely valid, and frankly, I'm ready to motion.
I mean, you could drop a motion at any point in the agenda item. I mean, don't wait for it. I mean, if it's not second, then it's not second.
Okay, so, I mean, to sum this up, we voted to eliminate both positions and bring back one. The superintendent's office, to be clear, needs an administrative assistant. Whether the optics are good or bad, that is what it is. There must be somebody there. Who's going to take minutes at our board meeting if we do not have this person? And we've all been talking about compensation and nobody gets paid enough. And now we're sitting here arguing about overpaying this person.
No one's arguing. I'm presenting my thoughts. I'm not arguing with anybody.
Okay, we would just need a motion for this item.
So real quick though, everybody's saying if we don't pass this right now, Jared's not going to have anybody in his office next year. That's incorrect.
Well, we would have to
He
bring
can
back
cut-
a new position.
Exactly.
Sure.
And there's time to do that. So this isn't the end all be all.
No.
Jared has nobody in his office next year if we don't approve this.
No, but I think that it does not set a good, I mean, the optics would be terrible if we not all, but we voted to do this and then we come back, we bring the item back and then we're like, oh, never mind.
Well, I don't think we know Jared needs an assistant. I think the issue might be the salary level. I mean, because what I heard when I was running for board is that previous superintendents had taken the assistant to the superintendent and just added the word executive to that title and bumped that person's pay, and now we're keeping the pay the same. So we're just kind of going with the status quo. That's my only issue.
Sure.
There was no discussion about that, and, we just roll it through, and, days worked versus a teacher's days work, it's the same pay. It is optics. And what we're trying to do with, renewing Jared as superintendent is show the community that we're going to have some stability and consistency. And so eventually that we can get them on board with what we want to do with this district down the road.
Sure, and I totally agree with what you're saying about that. I understand that. However, I think, and this is just, I guess, now a difference of opinion when we're talking about salary, we have 2 people doing jobs in the district office. We have just combined all of those job responsibilities into one, but we don't want to pay them the higher of the 2 that somebody was already making that much money in the district office.
And I'm not saying that how I'm going to vote on this.
Sure.
I'm just saying we need to be able to have discussion.
Absolutely, we can.
And, without people being kind of treated like, hey, we already voted technically to do this. Maybe 2 people in district office wasn't needed for the last 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
And we're overpaying a
I
whole
think
position.
I don't disagree with you because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was only one person in the district office for quite some time before the last few years. Is that correct? Correct. Okay,
One of the two positions has only existed for 2 years.
sure. So I agree with what you just said, for sure.
And this has nothing to do with the position or the people that are going to fill the position. I just want to make sure we can have discussions moving forward and we're being smart from a fiscal standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. Okay. Does anybody else have any discussion, questions, or comments?
I have the move that we approve item 15.7, job description, administrative and communications officer.
I'll second. And the roll call vote? Molly?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
No.
James?
No.
I'm a yes. Okay. Moving on to item 16, the discussion items. Doesn't look like we have any, or we do. Excuse me. The board policy updates or discussion. Yeah, we do. We do have discussion items. Board policy updates.
All right. I'm going to do my best to tackle this item. If you totaled up the attachments, I believe there's about 400 pages worth of reading tonight. So I just want to talk about more where we're at as a system. In my contract that was just approved, not in this same meeting, one of the responsibilities is that has to do with policies, and that we have policies that are where they need to be. We currently have over 600 board policies, and at this point in time, over 500 are out of date. And what I mean by out of date is the majority of board policies are driven by law. They're driven by assembly bills, Senate bills that pass, education code, whatever it might be. When new assembly bills are passed or education code is updated, board policies need to get updated. They have not been in recent years. It is very easy to fall behind. CSBA provides recommended board policy updates quarterly. Each quarter, they tend to provide 30 to 50 updates quarterly. So if you don't do any for a few years, you can see how you can get a few hundred behind very quickly. And so again, this is a big ask tonight, but I want to take a step back and talk about the plan moving forward. At some point, we have to rip the Band-Aid and get all of our board policies up to date, because being that far behind has many negative ramifications. And so the idea behind this was we brought CSBA in, California School Boards Association, their staff, and they worked with us. Our administrative assistants in the district office for each department deserve more credit than anyone in this. They did an immense amount of work, clerical work, just to get this in order for cabinet members to then make the critical recommendations for each of these policies. We have split all of our board policies that need to be updated into 3 groups. So while this is a lot, this is only a third of what needs to be updated. And so the plan is tonight there is no approval from the board. This is a first reading of all these board policies. At our subsequent meeting on May 7th, we would recommend that these policies tonight would be brought forward for approval. At that same board meeting, May 7th, we will bring forward another set of board policies, the 4,000 series and the 7,000 series, that will about equal or even more in number of pages of what's tonight, and that will be a first reading. And then on June 11th, we would have that second grouping hopefully approved, and then the last third brought forward for a first reading. And then on June 18th, we would then hopefully get the final approval for that final third of board policies, and then we would be up to date, kind of. Because in June, CSBA is going to provide their next quarterly update. And so we will have 30 to 50. We have created a system with cabinet and administrative assistants so that this doesn't happen again. And essentially what will happen is when that quarterly update comes out in June, we will meet in cabinet, divvy up the board policies that apply to each person's level of responsibility, cabinet member's responsibility, and then through August and September, those would get approved. And then in October, the new updates would come from CSBA. And so in November and December, we would go through the process for the October updates. And so this should, hopefully a year from now, board policy updates seem very normal to this group. We also identified that when a board approves policy updates, there should be a first reading and then at a subsequent meeting an approval. You have the authority to waive the first reading of a board policy and approve it the very night it comes up. I don't think that should be a common practice here at all. I think that should be used in emergency circumstances only, and the board would have to take specific action to not only approve the policy, but to waive the first reading. That's not what we're asking. While this is a heavy lift, we're just bringing forward this first set as a first reading, not to waive it, so there's no approval tonight. And then at the next meeting, we would ask for approval of this set of board policies.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Questions and comments, discussion, Peter?
I do. First, I don't know if this is procedurally necessary or not, Kayla. I'm still obviously very, very new. On the last vote we just had, did you need to declare whether it passed or not? Was that, I don't know if that happened.
It did pass 3-2.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
If I can try to be super open, honest, and transparent, even though I'm an English teacher and love to read, I did not get through all of these. I managed to read all of the 000 series and about half of the 1000 series, and definitely have questions, but I guess I'm wondering when or how the appropriate time is for that. And one of my biggest questions simply relies on format. It's my impression so far that a lot of them are extremely redundant and have the same exact number in the heading and don't really clearly say whether it's county or district side, and yet the language is almost identical, like there's multiple copies of the same thing.
Yeah, so you'll have, that's a great question. So we, in working with CSBA and talking to other single school district counties, you have two options. We could attempt to have two board policy manuals, a county and a district, but so many of those policies apply to both. We've identified about 30 policies that would be county only. My goal is to tackle those policies this summer after doing all of this. And so the way it's presented in the packet is as a PDF, but the way it will be presented in the end is the same tool we're using for our board agenda through Simbly. We would have our digital board policy manual. And so it's actually easier to navigate through the digital board policy manual than it is as these 100+ page PDF attachments where you'll be able to click through each of the policies and navigate it much more cleanly than how it's presented in the PDF.
So what I think I'm hearing you say is it's going to be far more clear, and the redundancies won't seem like quite as big a redundancies simply through organization.
Yes.
Okay. My only follow-up question is, I was amazed at, and I think this is in the 000 series, so feel free to correct me if my eyes got tired and cross-eyed and I couldn't keep track anymore. But there seemed to be about 30 or 40 pages related to all of the rules and regulations for charter schools. It's good that there are safeguards and rules and how that's done, because we want certainly our county kids to be protected and educated and all the things. Is there any way at some point that we can be given information on what charter schools, if any, exist in Amador County that are partially under our authority? And because a lot of these policies are like, the board will review and the board will make sure and the board will, and I have no idea.
That's another great question. So we do not currently operate a dependent charter. So charters would fall under one of two categories, a dependent charter or an independent charter. The dependent charter falls under the auspices of the school district. We have operated a dependent charter. Shenandoah Middle School operated for 5 or 6 years in this district and was closed, don't quote me on this, but roughly, let me say pre-COVID. How about that? That'll be accurate. It was 5 to 6 years ago that Shenandoah Valley Charter School closed. That was a dependent charter. There are other district-dependent charters that might operate satellite or remotely within our district, but there are no other charter schools that are currently operating, independent charters that are operating in our district. The reason those policies need to exist is you could have an interest group attempt to create an independent charter, and the board still plays a role in how that lays out. And so we need those policies. It's a great example of how cumbersome this is. We need those policies in the event that this comes up in the future, but right now, there's no function to them.
Okay. So what I think you're saying then is partially to protect ourselves.
Yes.
In our financial role. And part of that is one of the reasons why we could, shall we say, deny attempted charter.
Yes.
Is if we are in a qualified budget status.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Ken, go ahead.
No questions.
Okay. Shane?
One question, when it says updates, and this is a clean copy, are there, these attachments, are there any updates that were made for tonight or for this month? Or these, because some of these are dated, it says last updated whenever such and such year.
Yeah, so no, that I appreciate the question. I should have explained that at the beginning. So with many of these, there might have been an assembly bill passed in 2022, 2020, at another time, but we didn't update it at that time. So that's the most recent update. So that date may not be the present date, but it's the most up to date that policy can be based on whatever laws are applicable. And so that goes back to my comment about CSBA's role with their quarterly updates. So let's say there's a policy tonight that you approved that is a 2018 update that we never updated back in 2018. Well, let's say in 2026 they do update it. Well, that would be part of those quarterly updates, and we would bring back that individual board policy, not a massive grouping, but that individual board policy and say, well, the law's been updated, so now we make these recommendations to update this particular policy.
So that an individual policy, that's the one that would show the edits to show
Yes.
what the change, okay.
So moving forward, once we are through this mountain of work by the end of June, when we do our policy updates after that, we can get back to redlining and blue lining and showing you, okay, here's the individual policy, here's what changed. Normally 90% of it stays the same, right? It's like one little thing. Sometimes it's more, and we would demonstrate that with each of those updates. The other thing that I think would be critical is through Kayla's role as board president, the idea I had was, as a board member moving forward, if there's a particular board policy, you're not expected to have all of these memorized. We don't have all these memorized. This is a reference tool, right? We know them pretty well. We know where to look, but I don't have every board policy memorized. And so what may end up happening is over the next months or years, you identify a board policy that doesn't make sense or you have more questions about. We need to create a process where you as a board member can go to Kayla as the board president and say, hey, I have a concern or I have questions about this particular board policy. And then Kayla can work with me on, is this something that needs to be brought to the level of putting it on the agenda? Or is this just something where we could talk to that board member and explain and they're satisfied so that you as board members can have more ownership in these policies and say, hey, this is, are we able to change something in here and still fit within the confines of the law? Sometimes that answer is yes. And so I don't think we've ever had a system in place where board members could do that. It was mostly staff driven, right? We say, hey, here's the update, but then they're your policies, right? So there needs to be the direction coming the other way as well. We still have a big obligation as staff to keep you up to date through all these, but you as a board member need to be like, hey, I had a community member call me and say, what in the world's going on with this board policy? Like, you should be able to bring that to Kayla and have a process where then if we need to revisit this at a board meeting, we do that. And so that's why, if you notice, we have our action items as 15, discussion items 16, 17 board policy updates. Tonight it's discussion only, but at many future board meetings, it will be a discussion action section of the agenda. And I would prefer to keep it clean and have our board policies not intermingled in the rest of the discussion action items, but as its own section of the agenda. I just think it helps, especially in this case, but even moving forward when we do the updates.
I started looking through for updates and thought, oh, it'd be easier to see what the edits were. And that I think I started getting cross-eyed, and I just kind of,
It's a lot.
yeah.
It's a lot.
James?
When you say the edits, do you mean providing in the update or showing in the update what has changed?
Yeah, like it's like they cross out.
Yeah, the red line
Yes,
and the
what
blue.
was changed.
Where we've done the red line for what was eliminated, blue for what was new.
So you just see what the
black
difference
for
was.
whatever was stays the same. Yeah.
When I started to read these, I thought the same thing. And I brought the question to Kayla like, yo, this is way too much. And I do appreciate that you just explained that they can be discussed as we move forward, even after approving the updates, correct?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, no approval of a board policy means that it's now set in stone and you can't revisit a board policy.
So they are, in a
That's-
sense, living policies to utilize what's best for our district and community.
I like that you use living right now. They're kind of on life support. They need to get back to being living.
Right.
Truly, they need to be
Correct.
back to be living where we get them all up to date. And now we're looking at the updates that come out every quarter. Board members are involved with suggestions, and we're constantly looking at our board policies on how to improve them, update them, keep them in compliance with all the many laws. Yeah, it needs to be, I mean, to be honest, I don't want to put an exact number in it, but if you go more than 2 consecutive board meetings without something in board policies moving forward, you should be asking me what's going on.
I appreciate that advice because I remember years ago, there used to be sections on there of updates and they disappeared.
There you go.
I wish I would have known that. So are there any, how do I ask this? Is there resolutions regarding certain policies that may or may not change a policy?
I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
Maybe resolution isn't the right one, but are there certain actions that have been taken by a board to maybe not necessarily disregard a policy, but help expedite something for the district by just kind of overstepping the board? Not overstepping, that's
I think I know what you're asking.
eliminating the board's
Like the board
necessity.
took an action that didn't agree with what was in a current board policy.
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
In a sense, because so, I mean, just in the 2000s,
Okay.
2,111, to support the board and governance of the district, the superintendent, and then it says all of these things. And this popped up when I was attempting to read all of these. It says, understands the authority rests with the board as a whole, provides guidance to the board to assist in decision-making, and provides leadership based on the direction of the board as a whole. So if there is, are there any things that have been put in place to where 9 may be not as solid? Or I get so I'm gonna specifically, there was a resolution I believe passed a while back regarding the superintendent making their decision bypassing the board's discussion for anything to do with consolidation. So I guess that's what I mean. Are there any resolutions in place that disregard policy?
Not that
I
I'm
don't
aware
like
of.
disregard, but
I get what you're saying. Not that I'm aware of.
okay.
And moving forward, if we're ever looking at an action, we need to ensure that it fits within the board policy. And if not, can the board policy be changed? And if it can't, then that action shouldn't move forward. And you would need to change the board policy prior to taking an action. Well,
Because, and I actually asked if that resolution can be brought forth to the board again for better, further, more, whatever, discussion. And then just going through these, and then I see this, and I'm like, well, I guess that's irrelevant because there's a resolution that craps on that.
Okay, we can take a look at
Does that
that.
make sense?
I think so.
Or am I just tripping?
No, I don't think that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can take a look at that.
And if that kind of is the fact or the case, then are there any other resolutions out there that do that?
I mean, you're asking me to go back in eight years worth of board meetings here in my head, and I'm not aware of any, but I mean, if we identify them.
I mean, I've been here just as long as you have pretty much, so I mean, I'm asking myself too, and that's a bad ask.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I'm not aware of any, but if, you know, and again, this is why we're trying to be so open now with these policies. If we identify something, then it needs to be brought back and discussed.
Okay. All right, and that's also why I started with, I appreciate these being a living document.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
Okay.
One additional comment / question for my own clarification, and I think this might be related to what you're talking about. It seems like, for example, on Board Policy 2111, Superintendent Governance Standards, that this is, you know, trying to make sure the law is clear. And it says on almost every one of these, status draft - keep CSBA. And one of the big values of the CSBA is they're making sure we're in compliance with the law.
Yes.
And so I know it's a lot. I mean, oh my goodness, 9,000 plus board policies. But if I understand it correctly, it seems to be that what the CSBA is trying to do for school districts, et cetera, is to make sure they are in compliance with the law and that we are making a more concerted effort in an organized way to spell out to the public, these are all the rules, these are all the laws, ed code, et cetera, that govern schools, govern school districts. And so I don't know how often we really even can change policies much because we have to be in compliance with all these other things. As an example, one thing that deeply frustrated me, years ago I was over there speaking in front of this board and trying to beg the board to give up the stupid mask mandate. And basically was told, we can't do that.
Not by everybody.
Because this lovely authority dictates to this authority, dictates to this authority, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I don't fully know to what degree of wiggle room there is, but I think the intent behind the board policies is to make sure the rules are transparent to everyone, to the superintendent, what your limits are, to the board, what our limits are, to the public. And that's why they're so important, is that we keep everything in the open and we all try to ethically play within the rules.
That's well said.
James, did you have anything else to add?
No, I also, I mean, I agree, you're spot on. And again, I think it's very vital that we do as a board, the CSBA trainings as often as we can, of course, because they help us do just that. And that's what they are there for, is to provide these templates, and we massage them and create them to best fit our community and our district. Don't necessarily have to do exactly what they say, but we do gotta definitely obey the law, but they're templates. And that's what they teach you in the training, that these are just templates that we're providing. Am I wrong? Yeah, they're templates, and they are a state organization that provides the templates.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with everything everybody said here regarding these. When Jared brought this up, and we talked about them, I was honestly kind of like, is this a joke? Like, this has been, what? Like, how can you tell me that there's all of these? And I'm like sitting here and I said, okay, now I've been on the board almost 2.5 years going on. And I'm like, I can recall probably a handful of meetings that we had board policy updates, and we would be brought the board policy update and they'd say, approve, okay. And so, doing it this way with 400 pages worth of document is not ideal. But I think, when we talk about, Shane brought it up earlier about optics and things like, and perception, and I'm like, well, at some point perception becomes reality, and that is true. And when you're talking about this kind of stuff, this wasn't my favorite way to go about this. However, there are also realities in operating within a legal realm when you're talking about these kind of things. So I think that doing these, having the first reading, making sure that we as a district are operating above board and doing it the right way is super important, even if it is a lot of material. But I think having that, knowing that, and for the community to know that if there's something in the board policies that is not whatever, that we are wholeheartedly able to go back, look through it, discuss it, make sure that it fits our district and our community how they would want it or how we would want to run it. So I like having that, and I do think that board policy updates having its own section is appropriate also.
Good.
So we don't have to vote on this tonight. This counts as our first reading.
Yes.
Okay, so this is our first reading of these board policy updates. They'll be brought back at our next meeting, and then we will also have a slew of first reading policies also to look at. Did anybody have any further comments about this? No? Okay. Then we will go ahead and move on to reports. Mr. Critchfield?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I already said some things. I just, again, want to reiterate, appreciate the support from the board. Also, just a lot of community members and staff supporting me. It's difficult when you're in a role that's interim for a year. It creates a level of uncertainty. So I appreciate the board taking this action now so that we can, start moving forward and not have, a question mark on who's going to be the superintendent moving forward. And so appreciate that. We have a lot going on this spring. Springtime is always super busy at our schools. So my assistant Des is working on a list of events that are going on at our schools during the spring that you'll be invited to. I know you all received an invitation for the event tomorrow morning, the Top 10 Breakfast at Argonaut High. I'm sure Molly's going to talk more about that. And we will have more of those events that we'll advertise to you as well if you're able to attend. We also will be rolling out our last round of board site visits, and so we have one more round of those scheduled, and so we'll have that opportunity for you to do some visits again in the spring, and we'll just keep that rolling into next year. I think it's been successful. I've pretty much heard nothing but positive feedback from all of you on being able to get onto campuses and get into classrooms, and so we want to honor that and continue doing that for you. And that's all I have today.
Okay, awesome. Molly?
Yes, so like he said, spring is kind of a crazy time with academics and ASB. So as for ASB right now, we're working on hosting our first blood drive. It's going to be on May 5th in our gym, and so we've been working with a coordinator who does blood drives at schools, and so we're excited to host that. Recently, we had our prom. The theme was Afterglow, and it was at St. Sava, and our juniors in ASB planned that, so they did a really great job. It's a weight off when that's done if you're a junior, for sure. And then we also had a group of students in our ASB class go to a Castle Leadership Conference. It's basically just a conference that they go to with other students in ASB, and they talk about school spirit, get ideas for ASB events, things like that. Talking to them, they had an amazing time. I think it's something that our ASB classes will continue in the future, so that's really exciting. And then also, like he said, tomorrow is our Top 10 breakfast. So this is just a breakfast we do annually where we recognize the top 10 students in each class. They award the valedictorian salutatorian, and everyone just eats breakfast and donuts together. It's a fun thing to do, so if you guys can go, please definitely attend that. It's a super fun way to just highlight our best students. And then for our sports, they're just in the thick of their seasons, and then other than that, everyone's just been kind of preparing for AP tests and enjoying the warm weather. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Sounds like a good time. Peter?
Okay. Just a couple of things that I hope could be considered. Number one, I do think that the board policy is important, and that's very helpful to know that they are guidelines. I don't know if it would be appropriate to recommend that there are policies that are deleted or not adopted, whatever, but that I think that merits discussion. I do want to flash back with you, Jared, just for a second to, I don't know whether it was 2 years ago or 4 years ago or however long it was ago, that I asked you casually, would you ever do the top job? And the time he said no. So I'm grateful that has changed to a yes. Thank you for your service. It is a privilege to be here and to attempt to help bring clarity to the communication to the district. I do think that your assistant person in all the communication roles is vital, and it is a highly technical job, especially with all the writing involved. And as an English teacher, as much as we might pretend that we can just, hey, ChatGPT, give me a message, that's not good. So I'm glad we have a real person who's going to move forward in that role, or will have whenever that gets figured out. I don't know how much longer you were with us, but thank you for doing what you do and bringing the spirit and the excitement and whatnot to this. I think it's truly awesome. And just look forward to more involvement, more connection. And the only thing, I guess, that is still kind of really gnawing at the back of my mind is when I was first running, I thought at the time I'd heard EIR report, January. And I was told, no, not till May. It's basically May. So I would love to know what there is to know about the EIR report and how we can tackle that piece. But it is a privilege to serve and to serve with all of you.
Thanks, Peter. Ken?
So I think tonight with doing the contract for Jared, we've started to a period of stability and consistency within our district. I've had the pleasure of meeting with all the cabinet members. Very confident that their utmost responsibility is to the students, and I also believe to the teachers, for that matter. So I'm just very excited to see what the next 3 or 4 years are going to bring. But I think we're at a point now where we're going to have, the same people leading our district for a period of years, not just 1 or 2 years, and then the grass is greener on the other side. So I appreciate that, and thank you all.
Thanks, Ken. Shane?
Just to piggyback on both Peter and Ken, glad that you're going to be around for a while, Jared, and hopefully that will help things move forward. The other thing I wanted to add is I wanted to give a shout out to Mrs. Crow. She started this, make sure I say it right, mindful social emotional learning and yoga program for her class. And the 2 models in the class were 2 little gingers that I know from home. So hopefully down the road she can come and speak about it. But I just thought I'd mention that it seemed like a kind of a cool program, and hope to hear more about how it helped her students. Thanks.
James?
I don't have any reports.
Okay. I too, I'll piggyback what everyone else said. I am happy and excited that Jared is here with us for the long term. I think I was one of those people that mentioned, trying to keep longevity in the district. Stability is hugely important for kids, and it's hugely important for our staff members. High turnover is an issue, and when you have inconsistencies, it makes it difficult for people to want to stay. And so I'm excited about that. I think that with him and with this board, I think that it's been functioning well. And so I appreciate that, and I always do appreciate opinions and differing points of view that people bring to the table that I don't always think of. And so I do value those, and I am looking forward to, like I said in the beginning, to kind of moving us forward in a positive direction. So other than that, I don't have anything else. So we're moving on to our next meeting, and it will be Wednesday, May 7th, here, open session at 6:30, and we are adjourned. Okay, we will go ahead and call to order the Amador County Office of Education Board meeting. All board members are in attendance. Are there any deletions or corrections to the agenda?
There are not.
Okay, we do not have any presentations or recognitions. And I don't see anybody here from our employee organizations. So we'll move on to item 7, public comment, and I don't have any speaker cards here for that. So we will move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that before we move on? No? Okay, then we would just need a motion.
Motion that we approve item 8, the consent agenda.
8.
Second.
Okay, and then just the vote. Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
James?
That's item 8? Maybe I was on the wrong meeting.
Yeah, it's item 8.
Okay, I was like, am I on the wrong meeting? Okay. And I am also a yes. So that passes. We will move down. You had me worrying that I was on the wrong meeting here for a second.
Sorry.
Number 9, communications. We don't have any. Oops, I just clicked the wrong thing. Item 10, we don't have any action items. We don't have any discussion items, but we do have board policy updates.
Just in case you missed the 400 pages in the board packet, this is a companion item in the county office packet. So that, I don't know if we need any additional discussion, just need to do a first reading. And this goes back to what Peter had said earlier. It's like when this is all done, when you go online, 90+% of the board policies will be district county policies presented that way, so that there's not 2 board policy manuals. But technically, we need to do first readings and approvals with both entities.
Okay. All right, but I will leave that up for discussion. Does anybody else want to have any additional comments, questions on these board policy updates? Peter?
No.
Ken, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No.
Shane?
No.
James?
No.
I don't have anything else to add either. We do have information only, our current personnel recommendations. Does anybody have any additional reports, Mr. Critchfield?
Yeah, I actually do. I'm trying to keep it clean on the county side. Last week, I spent 2.5 days with the other county superintendents across the state. I believe all but 4 or 5 of the 58 county superintendents were in attendance. And we get together in person 3 times a year and then multiple times a month via Zoom. And I'm quickly learning what an influential group this is. When you have so many districts across the state, it's difficult for districts to galvanize and move any sort of work forward. When you only have 58 counties, and that doesn't appear to be changing anytime soon, that group of superintendents seems to have a lot of influence. And so it's been great for me to attend those meetings this year. And this last time, they were able to secure, as a county superintendent's organization, we pooled together to then join the American Association of School Administrators, so a national organization of school administrators that essentially works with that organization on federal education policy. And their lead director for policy, who resides in Washington, D.C., actually came out in person and met with us and gave a very in-depth presentation and then spent a lot of time answering questions. And she did a very good job of laying out the federal landscape right now and essentially saying, as organizations, we need to not be so alarmed, which I thought was interesting, as to everything going on, and we need to let the dust settle, and that there's nothing that's happened up to this point that is going to detrimentally impact our school finances. And so we just need to stay the course, watch how things play out. The battle, if you call it, right now is more with the states themselves, not with individual county offices or districts. And so I thought she just did a very good job of presenting that information and keeping us well informed as superintendents, and then learned a lot more about the CYBHI program, which the board approved. And again, that has to do with being able to bill back Medicare and other insurance agencies for services provided, and that work is continuing here in the district. And it was nice to see that we're doing really well, and Amanda and her team and where they're at compared to many districts haven't even gotten off the ground with it yet. And so that was exciting to see and to learn more about that. I also appreciate the county superintendents do carve out time for our single district counties to also meet together. And so it was an opportunity for us to have a meeting just as singles, which it's hard to get us all together because we're pretty spread out. And so all of the superintendents were there minus one. And so that was an informative meeting as well. But I just wanted to update the board on that process, and I'll continue to attend those meetings into next year. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Peter, any further report?
I guess just a comment and perhaps a question that I forgot to mention during the previous district part. I am excited. I need to be better at Facebook. Grateful that that I was nudged about our job fair on April 23rd.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And that's happening from, apparently from 12 to 3, and then you give yourself 30 whole minutes of breathing room before you fire it back up again from 3:30 to 5:30. And was pleased to hear that there's another one you said on May 21st. It's going to go a little later till 7 p.m. Especially considering my efforts of last month saying, hey, let's get creative, let's hire people, go team. Thank you for going team. Is it appropriate for board members to show up and smile and say, yes, join our team, come on down? Or is that like a no, don't get in the way type thing? I guess my only question on that one.
Yeah, I think it gets a little tricky because the idea of the job fair is not just to advertise, but we're going to be, if appropriate, we will be interviewing people on the spot.
Oh, perfect.
And so yeah.
So stay away and pray. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
I like that. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Thanks, Peter. Ken? No? Shane? James?
No comments.
And I don't either. So that brings us to our next meeting, also on May 7th, here right after our U.S.